welcome to This Week at Tassi, my weekly news roundup. I wasn't even sure I was going to do it this week because there's just been no real news in the gaming space, so didn't really seem worth it. Just kidding. Crazy week, I mean, globally, but that does kind of impact some video game stuff. We don't know the full extent of that yet. But then also we had a big Nintendo thing going on at the same time. I usually do like 5 bullet points of news here for this show. This week Nintendo is 3 of them. So we'll go through the different phases of this. I figured I might as well start with that and then move on to a few other things later. So we'll start with the good because we could all use at least some good news at the moment, especially if you're living in my country. The showcase that they put on was very good. They opened with Mario Kart World, which is a full-on Mario Kart sequel for the first time in a million years. It is a quasi-open world Mario game where you can kind of drive across the landscapes and you drive to like new racetracks and you can do these like round-the-world derby type things. There are 24 racers, which is a ton. You can drive as the Moo Moo Cow, so that's a big deal. Showing this off first, I'm not sure how many people realize this, but this is probably the most important game of the Switch 2 generation because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was the highest selling game on Switch by like a lot, like a whole lot. I think it was 67 million copies or something like that. And then second place was like 37 or 47. It is the biggest by a wide margin. So I really think you need to understand just what a big deal that is. And obviously this will play into something we're talking about later. The rest of the showcase, they did show off some new features of the console that were not gaming. That was this camera that they're selling where they're doing like this Discord-ish thing where you can like screen share with other people and then they show up. They do this like green screen effect to like make their faces show up like as you're playing with them. I think there is some use case for this. The unfortunate problem is that it looks horrible. Like it's so like cut out and pixelated and the frame rate is just abysmal to the point where I'm like, are they really even like showing this on stream? Like this looks so bad. But I can believe in the use case for that. It was not very well shown off. Besides that, there are some more kind of minor things with you can use the Joy-Cons as like more precise mouse movement and stuff like that. So they did do at least a little bit on the hardware side. I think there was some bad news that they didn't exactly broadcast, which I believe this has about half the battery life as the original Switch, which not ideal. The rest of the showcase, I think one of the big highlights was the new From Software game, the blood something. Should have written this down. The Blood Rains, the blood from Software, the Dusk Bloods. Should I edit that? People are always saying I get my facts wrong. So you just saw me live fact myself on the air. So journalism, baby. That looks interesting. No one was really expecting a Switch exclusive multiplayer FromSoft game in this showcase. That is certainly very strange. There's been, people were kind of wondering what this game is, and there's like all these different characters from different FromSoft games, and there's been a little more information coming out about it now. Like part of it, in some ways, is like a battle royale where like you want to be like the last person standing in a match, but then also there's like co-op things for like boss battles on the map, and like it's a little bit of a jumble in a way where Night Rain doesn't really seem like as much of, it seems a little more straightforward in terms of like the, survival mechanics, surviving the nights. This is still like kind of all over the place. That said, anytime, we see a new FromSoft game, that's good news. It's just, I think some people will probably be annoyed this is a Switch 2 exclusive. FromSoft has also chimed in to say that they are still doing, single player games. So they are not just making multiplayer games now, even though the last 2 games we've heard of from them, Night Rain and now the Dusk Bloods, are multiplayer. So they will still be making their traditional games, but when that's coming, who knows? Finally, they closed with the new Donkey Kong game, and that has a lot of like crazy kind of destruction physics, which is kind of funny. And saw, the best tweet I saw was they finally made Red Faction Gorilla with Gorilla, like Gorilla. Yeah, that was very funny. So that looked cool. It wasn't like closing with the new Mario game or anything or new Zelda. And then there was a big hands-on event where a lot of people played the games and everyone was like, yeah, it's good. And like I guess Metroid played really well and stuff like that. But so yeah, that was a showcase. And then immediately after the showcase, everybody lost their minds. You probably know what happened here, which is Nintendo did not reveal the price on stream, which you quickly probably understood why. The price is $450. That is a lot. That is $150 more than the Switch debuted at, even though, it was pretty obvious we weren't going to get a $300 Switch in 2025, 8 years later, whatever it's been. It's not a huge shock, but that's $50 more than a PS4, and that is $50 more than I think most people were expecting. I think the general idea was that it would probably be around $400, so they're pushing the upper range of that. Rather, the biggest controversy was the fact that Mario Kart World specifically was revealed to cost $80. And in some regions, the physical version appears to cost more than that. There was a listing for 80 euros, but then 90 euros for physical. So far in the US, it just seems to be 80 for both, but it's $80. People are not amused by the fact that Nintendo is pushing into $80 price point for a AAA game when, not all that long ago, we just pushed into $70 as the, official price of most big video games. And like, obviously there are a range of games, but if we're talking like the biggest games, it is $70. So the weird thing is this appears to be happening with just Mario Kart World, where the new Donkey Kong game is $70. So they're kind of picking and choosing. And as I said, Mario Kart World is probably going to be the biggest game on the platform. So you can see the logic here where it's like, well, everyone's going to buy this anyway. So will they pay an extra $10 for it? Probably. So they're doing that. And it's not just about kind of the $10 price increase of the game. Like, first of all, we don't know, what's that going to apply to? Next Zelda game, next Mario game? You have to kind of guess what is a big enough series to warrant that again. But the idea is also that if Nintendo does this, it opens the door for other publishers in the industry to do this as well with what they deem to be, worthwhile games that are worth pushing the price even higher. That could be Call of Duty, that could be the next God of War, it could be the next Halo, things like that. But there's been this, running joke about how, well, GTA 6 can charge $100 a copy and everyone would pay it. Yeah. And, if this happens, we might actually see that. I don't know if Rockstar is going to pull the trigger in the same way that Nintendo is here. Nintendo seems to be a little more cavalier when it comes to experiments, apparently, but it certainly does feel like it's the first step toward something larger. And in an economy that does not really seem to warrant this. There's been a little bit of a debate about, well, games are so costly now. There's, if you do inflation, games should cost this much anyway. Yeah, that's true. But inflation affects everybody. Like, inflation affects consumer buying power. So it's not just like, we're cheating these games by not paying enough. Not to mention that we have all these other revenue streams now, whether that, that kind of started with DLC, but it also now includes just, all these in-game microtransactions, even with fully priced games. It's a subscription service, whether you're paying for Nintendo Switch Online or, Xbox Live or whatever, or Ubisoft Plus, is that what it is? Those things like that cost money. So it's, this isn't the Super Nintendo days. Like this, there are a lot more things to consider here than just, let's just plug this into an inflation calculator and yeah, this is what things should cost. So people are really, really mad about this. I'm not sure I've ever seen people this mad at Nintendo in like recent history. Like there's this Treehouse live stream going on where for 2 days now, people have just been spamming the chat forever, like drop the price. I assume that means the games. I don't think people are like that much upset about the $450 price. Like that's not great, but I think it's the $80 games that are really kind of getting to people. And that leads into the third point, tariffs. Yeah, we're going to dive into world economics here, at least to, a certain extent. So Nintendo announced the price of this a couple hours before Donald Trump announced his mass global tariffs. And since then, there's been some debate about whether Nintendo priced this higher than what people thought preemptively, because they believed tariffs were coming and they were kind of pricing that into the new price of the console because they believed this would happen. I can buy that. That might be true. Or there is, of course, the option that even if that was true, or maybe not, the new tariffs and what they actually are more than they were expecting. So the question is if that could drive the price even higher than $450. There is a 24% tariff on Japan now, and then there is like 47% tariff on both Vietnam and Cambodia, where Nintendo has moved a lot of its production. So, that all of this stuff can raise prices everywhere, and it's just a question of how much of that gets passed on to the consumer. And, I don't think no one can really calculate the exact figures at this point. Like, oh, well, 24% tariff. So is the thing going to go up by 25%? Is that going to be the final price? We don't know yet. And it's really just a question of if Nintendo priced this in, or really how much they will accept their margins being eaten into in order to at least move units and attach, this $80, purchases to it. So it certainly seems to have some effect. And then attached to this is the news item today that Nintendo is removing the April 9th pre-order date for the Switch 2 in the US, which was supposed to go up, 5 days from now, literally because of the tariffs and the quote market conditions. The market conditions being the stock market's losing, how many percent is it now? I don't know, a lot of percents. And the Dow's what, 3,000 down. The Japanese Nikkei, I'm not in finance, is down 1,000 or something just the last time I looked. So, it's a little unstable right now. There is no new date for US pre-orders, but they specifically said that the launch date of June 5th would remain unchanged. So even if this is affecting pre-order timing, it does not appear like it is going to affect the actual release date of the console. And then finally, as like a bookend of this, Nintendo's not the only, console company or video game company, period, that's going to be affected by this. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation have, manufacturing and parts and stuff all over Asia. All these tariffs will apply to that too. That could very much increase hardware prices on those consoles too. It's just that, in the current moment, we're focused on Nintendo because they literally announced their pricing like 3 hours before the tariffs went up. So it's both like the new thing to talk about and then all these unknowns with the tariffs coming into effect. Okay, so that's, that would normally be like a whole show, but I'll try to move into a few things that are less intense. The Minecraft movie, that's quite a pivot. I have not seen it. I don't particularly want to see it. I have limited free time, and that is probably not worth my time, especially given that I would be seeing it in a theater by myself or with a lot of little kids and their families. My son is too young for that, so too young to see Jack Black and being that intense on screen. It's gonna do well, and it's kind of reviewing okay. So it's one of the worst trailers I've seen in recent memory. It looks so bad in the trailers. In the end, it did end up with, what is it now, a 48% critic score, meaning at least half of critics had a positive view of it. Not amazing, but then it had a 83% audience score right now, which is not a huge surprise that people, eager enough to see the Minecraft movie would like it more because, it's got all these connections to the game and stuff like that. The praise for it is that Jack Black and Jason Momoa have good chemistry. If you do know the game, there's a lot of references and Easter eggs that game players actually like. The Jennifer Coolidge storyline where she falls in love with a villager was supposed to be actually good. And then, there's some other reviews calling it the worst movie of the year and giving it 1 star, which, again, watch the trailer, not hard to imagine. But this seems like this could hit $1 billion in revenue. No matter what the scores are, you have to look back to the Super Mario movie, which had a 53% critic score, like a 90 something audience score, and it was massive. It did 1.3 billion at the box office, just a colossal hit, and obviously on the back of one of the most well-known gaming IPs in history. And critics just thought it was okay. Like, it was okay. I mean, it was fine. I liked it, but the Minecraft movie, it's like the same thing essentially. You and me, and I don't know how old you are watching this, but if you're my age, you didn't really grow up playing Minecraft, but there's like 2 generations now essentially that have. And Minecraft is far and away the best-selling video game of all time. Yes, GTA 5, but if we're not using the $60, $70 scale, and we're taking into account the lower price and stuff of Minecraft, across all platforms, it's the biggest. So it's just got such a massive built-in audience at baseline that it's going to overperform however terrible it is, essentially. And if it's not like the worst thing ever, if it's like a coin flip of being okay or not, that's probably good enough. So it's already opening with apparently $150 million globally this weekend. The movie costs $150 million apparently, so that's enough right there to get it moving. Mario obviously did start stronger, but this is putting up really good numbers. I think this might be, I guess, like second or third in terms of like good video game openings. I certainly don't think it'll pass Mario, but could it push up to close to $1 billion? I don't know. Maybe, unless, tariffs increase movie ticket prices too much and people stay home. I don't know. But point is like, this is doing a lot better than I thought it would, honestly, both in terms of how it's being scored and, I mean, I did think this was going to make a lot of money, but promising start for the Minecraft movie. So it's the real title is called A Minecraft Movie. So there you go. Finally, I will close with something my more regular audience may be more into. That is Marathon. Not the greatest time to start an ad campaign given everything going on, but Bungie and Sony are starting to roll out Marathon promotion. Even Sony put this as the PlayStation banner. It's these like cryptic Marathon images that is this kind of alternate reality game, like based around a website and a console. And over the past 24 hours or so, people have been like finding secrets, and then some things have been unlocked. Like there's a list of all the guns, and like you can see kind of the outlines of the gun in text data form. There's a bunch of soundtrack clips. There's like 30 minutes of soundtrack clips released, which are really good. I really like that stuff. I retweeted one of them. You can go check that. And then there's some new art that wasn't part of the puzzle that was released, but it was released by the art director. And, there's a Twitter account that's a meta Twitter account yelling at people. That's apparently real. There's me trolling Aztecross with clues. Sorry, that was too funny. I didn't think you would really believe it. Okay. I don't think the end of this road has been reached yet, like the whatever ultimate solve of this is, but I saw some people saying like, oh, well, they're going to lock the beta. They're not going to lock the beta. Like that's a pipe dream. I think the best thing this could unlock is like, that's when they release the new trailer or look at the game or whatever. Apparently this is supposed to launch next week. Like the real reveal will be next week. I think that's true from what I know. I'm not like 100% sure, but I think that, and then a few other things from people are going to drop. I'll talk about that later, but so that seems to be the kind of most likely option here. And, at this point, they got to show gameplay. Like, as much as I love the 2023, super sick trailer, like, you got to show gameplay at this point. I'll probably do a whole separate video about Marathon and its potential audience and like Destiny players and challenges and strength. I'll do all that later. We're hitting 20 minutes on the video here, so I want to keep that within that time frame. But there's certainly a lot to talk about that as that starts to roll out, and I'll do a whole probably separate video that I already have in mind about that. But if stuff's next week, maybe I'll wait till that. So Nintendo, lots of things. Tariffs, maybe go see the Minecraft movie to take your mind off things. And yeah, so this is going to be an ongoing situation with the whole gaming industry, like the whole world, obviously, but I'm focused on the gaming industry and what kind of disruptions this may mean here. You know, since this is so recent and like we don't exactly know what the fallout is from this, maybe things are kind of normal for a while, you know, pre-orders go live a week late or whatever, but everything is kind of business as usual. I don't know. There's still going to be lots to talk about, you know, whether we're talking about normal gaming news or hardware pricing or whatever. But yeah, that's the week. It's only 2 p.m. on Friday as I'm recording this, so plenty of time for something disastrous to happen in the next few hours here before the weekdays close out here before the weekend. So cool. Let's stay tuned for that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.